Both Ram and General Motors produce diesel 1500 trucks with the promise that people can get good fuel economy, good towing abilities, and decent power all in a somewhat affordable package. Today, we're going to take the Sierra out and see how good it can do on that promise. In today's test, we're going to head out and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour to get a realistic highway fuel economy number for this diesel Sierra. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Now, unfortunately, this isn't actually going to be the best truck for fuel economy testing because it is an AT4 package, meaning it's got a 1-inch lift right from the factory and some knobby all-terrain Goodyear Wrangler tires, but it'll still be interesting to see what sort of fuel economy numbers we do get, and if you get a more pedestrian trim spec of a Sierra diesel or Silverado diesel, then you can probably expect even better numbers than this. So if you do want to see more on this really cool truck, check the links in the description. We've got a review of the Bose audio system, a DM test drive, a little bit of live drive coverage, all good things. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this truck 23 miles per gallon, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. Rumble, 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 rumble. We know there are people who take their trucks on long road trips and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect in the real world. Bigger vehicles have more air resistance to fight, and that number goes up exponentially as you get going faster. So, in theory, the highway numbers are always going to be a little bit lower in the real world than you see on the EPA test, because that EPA test, like I said, is only averaging 48 miles per hour. So in order to test that out, we're going to go over here, fill up, head out and do 100 miles, come back, fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. A few things to note for today. Outside temperature is not visible, apparently, because I've got Apple CarPlay up. What a poor design that you can't see your outside temperature with CarPlay. It's warm, though. It's like 48 degrees. Let me see. How do I go out? Oh, probably this home button. 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Tire pressures have been set to their door placard PSI cold. Diesel pump is right here, huh? Okay. And we're going to have our climate control set at 73 degrees auto. Now, yes, this might use the condenser a little bit, but that's how people travel in the real world, and without it, we would roast. All right, let's hop out and fill it up. All right, we ended up putting in 4.011 gallons for our first fill. Before we actually start the car, we're going to reset our trip computer and the GPS. And we're ready to begin. A few different drive modes here in the Sierra. We've got just actually normal, sport, and off-road. We're going to be doing this test in normal and just 2-wheel drive mode. We're going to take it nice and easy over the highway. It's about half a mile away, and pick up the test from there. The goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy numbers, but rather a realistic number for this truck. In order to do that, we're going to get up to highway speed at a reasonable pace and set our cruise control at a GPS indicated 72 miles per hour. That should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. Plenty of torque from this inline 6. We'll get up to speed no problem, especially with 10 different gears. Now this Toyota Echo might actually have a little bit more trouble, so we're going to kindly go around him, give him some extra space. A little bit of wind today, but fortunately we go out and back in the opposite direction, so that should negate the wind. But it looks like the speedometer on the car is very accurate with the GPS. Well, actually I take that back, because it says we're doing 73 now. There we go. Well, yeah, it's about 1 over, so I'm going to have to set the cruise at 73. We're going to do 72. Initial highway observations. You do hear some tire noise from these Wranglers. You hear a little bit of engine noise as well, but we are on an incline. And a little bit of wind noise. But like I said, it's pretty windy today. We'll catch up with you at the end, kind of report back on how this thing is on the highway, and see what sort of fuel economy we're getting. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Sierra AT4 diesel. Can't get much more on the dot than that. 23.2 according to the vehicle's trip computer. It's actually a little bit better, I suppose, than the EPA's 23. That should get a little bit better even as we get down this hill here and get off the highway. Overall, pretty decent highway cruiser. I know a lot of people have talked about the seats in this new generation truck, and yes, they are a little bit firm, and I guess now that I think about it a little bit more, my butt's a little bit more sore than it might be in comparable vehicles. But other than that, this thing's comfortable. It's got a good place for my elbows. It's, it'd be a little bit quieter with some normal tires, but I did realize that there's actually a separate MPG figure in the EPA's calculations for the non-AT4 model. So if this were not an AT4, it'd be estimated at 26 MPG highway. So I am glad that they rated this one separately because of the tires and the lift. So keep that in mind, that if we do indeed get 23 miles per gallon here, then you might be able to see 26 miles per gallon if you got a non-AT4 model, which is pretty darn good for a truck of this size and capacity. Another thing that we've started doing is measuring the temperature inside here, because we have the climate control set at 73, but what does that really come out to? Certain vehicles we roast. And this truck did get up to 75 degrees Fahrenheit in here, even though the climate control is set at 73. It didn't feel that warm. However, when I was recording the sound system tests for this truck, my camera overheated, unfortunately. So I had to turn the climate control down a little bit, blow some cool air over the camera, and that dropped it down to 72. But it's going back up, and I bet you would get back up to at least 75 again. Something to keep in mind. We're going to take it nice and easy back to the gas station, fill up, see what we get. 4.125 gallons going in for our final fill. 102.2 divided by 4.125 is giving us, oof, that's a little bit high of a fill. I think, yeah, it's possible. I think a safe number would probably be to round that down to 24 miles per gallon, because EPA's 23, cars saying 23.4, this saying 24.7. I think 24 miles per gallon, pretty safe number, and that's pretty darn cool for a vehicle this capable off-road, this size, and this capable in towing. Now, we don't 100% know what fuel tank is in here. It's tough with pickup trucks. They've got a lot of different fuel tank sizes. I think this might be 24, but I also think we might have some sort of extended tank in here. If it is 24, then 24 gallons times 24 MPGs, giving you an effective highway cruising range of 570 miles here in the AT4 diesel Sierra. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on this truck, check the links in the description. We've got the great Bose sound system test, live drive, DM test drive, all the good stuff. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.